Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start. First of all, thank you so much for coming tonight. I know it was a little challenging in terms of the weather, but I want to thank you, and we're going to share some great ideas and some great insights. I want to thank Yisrael Shmueli for doing such a great job to organize tonight, to organize and bring the venue for the fantastic and most delicious wine and the sushi shikayach, and that merit Hashem shebenshu atzlacha bracha baruch nishad begashmus ad b'lidai. I wanted to tie a little bit of, a little background of those who don't know what I do. I was a former physician. I specialized in foot surgery for many years. I was successful in terms of having two lives. In the morning I taught in yeshivas and seminaries, and in the afternoons I practiced foot surgery. I was a talmid of two very unique gedolim of the 20th century. Rabbi on the literature side, who was taught by the Lubavitcher Malamed and the Lubavitcher Rabbi, who was unique in that I used to visit him almost every other Sunday for about 4 or 5 years. And I was raised in a Syrian community where Rabbi Abraham Hecht, J.J. Hecht's brother, was my Rav, and we were very, very close. He married me, and I'll never forget the telephone call that I made to Label Groner. I used to go out with various girls, and the one girl that would end up being my wife, he told me, hold on. He asked the Rebbe, he said, that's the one. Baruch Hashem, 1, 2, 3, I got married. So that's the way it is. I mean, you have to be connected to tzaddikim. So I made it my life's business that I would enjoy very much, helping people get married. So come on in, guys, have seats. Maybe step some chairs over. Shalom Aleichem. Whoa, good to see you. Bruchim habayim. Helping people get married. So what it is that about 25 years ago, many of the guys coming home from Eretz Yisrael and girls similarly would ask me questions in classes as to, I'm going out with this boy, I'm going out with this girl, and I had no clue as to what to tell them. I started reading every book on the subject. I found myself under 10, 20, 40, 100, 200, 500, 600, 800 chuppahs, and slowly but surely you get the hang of what's happening here. And then I moved to Miami. I had to practice in medicine in Miami. I was also asked to be a Rav for a short while in Miami Beach, but I don't want that job anymore. Anyway, that was rough. But I taught University of Miami for 6 years. Every Wednesday, hosted thousands and thousands of Bali Tshuva who came to our house to experience Shabbos for the first time, helped many of them get married. And then when I thought I was set in Miami, I saw that my daughters were not so happy. They missed the New York vibe. So I called the Tasha Rebbe in 2008, and I said, what should I do? And he said to me, back to New York, because your children come first, and Shidduchim come first, and that's what we did. And Baruch Hashem, they came back, and they got married to wonderful boys, and I continued my work, and I loved teaching people how to date successfully. I'm a toolbox guy when it comes to dating. This is how it's done, and if you follow the formula, it should go well for you. One day, I had a class called Wednesday Night Dating with Dr. Jack, like tonight, Wednesday night with dinner, and on Ocean Avenue and Avenue I in yeshiva called Ruach HaTorah. And one of my friends, Maimon Elbaz, who's a big mechanech in children, he's on Torah Anytime as well. He came in with a video camera, and he said, let's tape you. So he put up the video. The next day, he posted it on Torah Anytime. 2 days later, I'm getting emails from all over the world. Hong Kong, Israel, California, you name it. Mexico, Argentina. I slowly but surely understood that Hashem had a mission for me here. So I put all my other stuff on the side. I said, this is where I'm needed, and I'm going to create a new path for my life, which is to become a dating coach, a shadchan, marital coach. I'm dealing with everything today. If I could tell you just some of the cases that I have on my table right now, I just got off the phone with a woman who's been living in Costa Rica for mostly all her life, divorced 15 years, not religious at all. My mission is to help her become more frum and then get her ready to enter the marriage, scene once more time. Then I have a case in London right now of a Hasidic woman whose husband comes home, takes off the levush, goes out to the nightclubs, is on his cell phone watching porn all night. And that's another case I have to deal with. I'm dealing with it all. I mean, there's nothing that phases me anymore. And I'm trying my best, in terms of getting these people together. I have a woman who just came home from Philadelphia, back to Brooklyn, because her husband hit her with a post-nup request 3 years after being married. Hit her from left field. She's not happy with the idea, neither am I. But, we have to repair all these things and get them to tikkun. So, that's what and I see some of my clients here. Ronnie, good seeing you, pal, live. Okay, very good. And that's what I love to do. So before I start tonight's presentation, I want you to know that if you have any questions whatsoever on dating or shalom bayis, you're not sure, you're going out with a girl or a guy, reach out to me. I'm here for that. This is my, Baruch Hashem, something that I love to do. It's my expertise. It doesn't make a difference. I deal with every stripe and color yid. Now I'm getting non-yid. Suddenly the Chinese are into me. Yeah, they're coming from Manhattan. They want to know why Jews are successful at dating. And they're so meticulous. They write notes. I sit there, I tell them, they're writing everything, and they check in with me almost every day. Rabbi, it's the 10th day. Rabbi, it's the 11th day. It's the 12th day. You know how they are. They're very, punctual and very analytical. So, you know what it is? Manis Friedman says, the Torah nikra emes. The Torah is truth. All that stuff on the podcasts and stuff is psychobabble. I'm going to give you emes tonight, based on Torah. Halavai, I made it up. I wish I did. But I'm going to give you emes, and you're going to walk out with a GPS of how to live your life, how to date intentionally, how to date correctly, and not waste your time. Not waste your time. There's a girl. Her grandfather's worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Every time I show her divorce, 9 months marriage, done. And this is the crisis that we have today. Not my look. Everyone's got their pickiness, right? Not my look, not my look. I was having a discussion with someone today in the field. I said, 30 years ago, no one saw pictures. Not that I'm against pictures. It's nice to know.
It's not just about the look, it's about the money.
That's another factor, right? When how did I meet my wife? I went to my cousin's wedding, and one of my friends that I grew up with said he just got engaged. Would you like to meet Susan's best friend from school? I said, sure, okay, blind date, bam, bam, bam. But it's important you have to realize something. I said, I was just in LA this weekend. I gave a Shabbaton to Esha Torah. It was packed. Yeah, packed. And I said to them something very important. The biggest ask you can ask of Hashem is your soulmate. That's the biggest request in life. It's going to call for the most currency. Like we have monetary currency in our pockets, it's going to call. This one needs chusim, zechuyot.
What if the person never finds a soulmate?
That's not true.
What do you mean? I know people in their
That's not true.
70s that are married, never been married.
Their opportunity came and they dismissed it. I could show you from the Stipler Gaon, Rechaim Kanievsky. He says, everyone has the opportunity, but you can misuse it. You understand? Because one of the questions I was asked last week, I did a huge Instagram event right here on Union. Where is CYP International? Right behind 770. What's that next block over? Behind Eastern Parkway. I did a big Instagram event. One of the questions I was asked there is there such thing as two soulmates? And yes, the Rambam proves it.
What do you mean by two?
That means there's more than one soulmate.
7, right?
I don't know exactly how many.
What do you mean you marry one?
You can have more than, there's one person. I'll explain to you how it works. As we know, the Gemara brings down in 40 days before conception, it says bat kol comes down and says, this one to that one, this girl to that guy. But it's not hachrachi, it's not guaranteed. What it means is that's your best potential. That girl or that guy will bring out your best potential. But you could blow it because you misuse your free choice. Many people used to come to Reb Chaim's father, the Stipler. He had X-ray vision. Rebbe, where's my soulmate? The guy's 35, the woman is 38. What happened? Doesn't God guarantee my soulmate? So he's looking at a fellow, and he says, where's my soulmate? Right? And he says, you already met her 6 or 7 years ago. From what I see, she's married to 4 kids now. Why? What happened? Because you thought you were the best thing since Swiss cheese, and nothing else is better than you, and you had to have the mat'im, the perfect shidduch. You found something wrong in her, something you could dismiss her with, and she's long gone. You misuse this soulmate, and that's the problem, is we're corrupted by society and by toxic ideas.
If you miss it, that's it?
No, wrong. You can get a second one. Imagine you have a puzzle. and there's one piece missing. There's a perfect piece that fits into that hole, but there's another piece that'll fit but not as good. And the Rambam proves it. The Rambam got a letter from a fellow called Ovadia the Ger. And the Rambam was telling him if a person gets engaged, he's not allowed to go to war. Because someone might swoop in and take his girl. Or what happened to the soulmate? So the Rambam proves it. There's more than one soulmate. Otherwise, we wouldn't send them to, we'd let them go to battle. No worries. Right.
For everybody?
Across the board. There's one person that's going to be easy, the Stipler says. That they'll make it available to you from Shamayim. That they'll see to it that you meet each other. They'll see to it that, you somehow connect. But when you're together with her, or her with him, if you don't have good hashkafa, if you have verkrumt hashkafa, if your outlook is toxified, if you've been horribly distorted in your hashkafa by media, and you make bad decisions, or you're disrespectful to her, or you look down on him and they walk on you, you blew it. Because your behavior wasn't appropriate. So that's why, while we're single, we got to work on ourselves constantly. Work those midos. More patience, more compassion, more chesed, more kindness. So as a result, when this right shows up in your life, you're ready. And you don't make a poor decision.
The thing is, how do you know who's ready?
You do your best. That's all you can do.
I'm saying, no. How do you know that's your mate, your true mate?
You will know.
How do you know?
I'll tell you tonight.
Right.
Okay. Well, I'll advance the process. I'll tell you. There is a formula. In English, it's spelled 4 letters. Pair. Pair, Zug, right? P-A-I-R. And it goes like this. And it works like a charm. P is physical attraction. That's the absolutely required. Don't let anyone tell you, oh, you know what? You're not attracted to her. Years from now, or after you marry, you'll get more attracted. Shtuyot. You must be physically attracted to each other. That's baseline. That's the lobby of the building. Before you can even get up, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th floor. Now comes A. A is admiration. What is it that you see in that woman or man that you like? I like that she does chesed. She goes next door and helps the lady that's a Kolel wife with her 9 kids and helps her with the laundry, or helps her shower her children, or she bakes for Shabbat, Shabbos, right? Or the girl says, I admire him. After a hard day's work, he goes to a Torah class. He works hard. He's ambitious. He's respectful. There has to be something in the man or woman that you admire. That's A. Another A is acceptance. No one is perfect. Every one of us has faults. Every one of us has a history of something. Some of us have medical conditions. Can you love the person in spite of the fact that there's some chisaron, that there's some deficit with them? And every one of us has. Now, sometimes you can't. Sometimes the problem is just too extensive. He has a bad drug habit, for example. I had a guy, came into last year, I helped him get married. His marijuana bill every week was $1,000. He was high 24/7. Yeshiva boy, former yeshiva boy. So I said to him, I showed him a Hatzalah video, and I said, this just came out, the Hatzalah video, about how it's laced with fentanyl, and it's killing people. Let's just change his name, Shaul. I said, Shaul, you're next, man. One day they're going to come calling on you, they're going to find your body down on the ground, and you're gone. This is where you're headed. You want this? So call this organization called MASK, which is an organization in the Sfar community in Flatbush that helps people. He called them up, he gets a voicemail. Listen to what he did. He goes cold turkey and never touches his stuff ever again. 3 months later, I'm standing under the chuppah. And he married the daughter of a Rav from Great Neck. He was divorced, and she was divorced. They both never had children. It was a perfect shidduch. Perfect. So you have to be careful. Okay, so that's A is admiration, acceptance. I stands for emotional intimacy. The ability to connect. Can I confide in you? Can I tell you my secrets? Can I go to you for advice and counsel instead of going now to my friends or to my parents? So I'm looking to her, or she's looking to me for advice and counsel. Do we look forward to being with each other? Are we like ishtoki gufo? Are we like one unit? We're now gelling. By the way, that takes time. That takes anywhere from 8 to 12 dates in order to become intimate with someone emotionally like that. If they tell you, I knew she was right from the first time, from the first date, that's not emotional intimacy, that's infatuation. Okay, that takes time. So that's I. And how do you build emotional intimacy? You do things for each other. For example, first of all, you change the dates from not every date being just dinner, dinner, dinner. One date is dinner, one day is a walk under the Brooklyn Bridge, another date maybe is Dave and Buster's, another date is a day at the park, whatever it is. Change it up. See the person from their different facets. Talk to each other on days call each other on days. I mean, this is like if you're going Shidduch style, this is where the Shadchan has left the picture, and now you call each other up. How are you? Shabbat Shalom. Stay connected. Do little favors for each other. You know, if she likes a certain chocolate, you send it to her. Flowers on Shabbos, that kind of thing. Pick him up from the subway or the airport. And R is respect. There's no place for a lack of derech eretz. If the person is disrespectful while you're dating them, high alert. Because this is what you're in for if you marry them. So remember that. On one note, I came from an era where people dated directly. All my children got married with a shadchan. I love the shadchan system very much because oftentimes many people dating directly give up on the relationship too quickly. They don't try hard. Or he saw something in her, she saw something in him, and just came to their own conclusions. It's not for me, goodbye. Oftentimes, a shadchan can fix it, can repair it. There's a misunderstanding sometimes. And it's all a matter of a third party helping bridge that gap. So be on the lookout for that. Use a good shadchan, and that'll help a lot. So I did call tonight's talk about Purim. Someone throws a Purim theme out there, and then we'll move on to some of the more dating stuff. Okay, how do we find meaning and hope in times of darkness? We've seen what Klal Yisrael has gone through in the last year and a half, some very, very severe challenges to our nation. So the Megillah tells us that these days will be remembered and kept in every generation. These days of Purim will never be forgotten by Jews. That means when Mashiach comes, all the holidays will be gone bye-bye, except for two, the Rambam tells us, Purim and Hanukkah. That's it. That's it. Every year, Megillah Esther is read aloud in public, usually in the synagogues. All adult Jewish men and women are given an obligation to hear every word. But why? Don't the other Jewish holidays also have great meaning? Why is Purim celebrated through reading the Megillah? What's that all about? And listen to this. The message is Hashem is trying to communicate something to us. Don't be afraid. Even Hashem says, if I feel like I'm far away, because Hashem is not in the Megillah, nor is his name, and he's like undercover. He's hidden, he's concealed. But Hashem is sending us a message. And this is a message that I believe that singles need to hear. I will never abandon you because you are my dear children. And that's important. Purim's miracles were hidden by purpose by Hashem. Esther just happened to be chosen. She just happened to be Jewish. Achashverosh just happened to be taken by her good looks. Everything just seems to happen. Like if it's just, mikra, happenstance. But that's the way. There is no luck here in Purim. There's no coincidence. It's all meant to be. Everything is directed by a manhig upstairs, by a director. The name of Hashem is nowhere to be found in the book of Esther. It's only hidden. Hashem purposely conceals himself to teach us there are times that great miracles are camouflaged, waiting to be discovered. In all our lives, miracles are there, but they're camouflaged. We all go through times that we think we're alone. And as singles, that happens a lot. I didn't get married when I was 21. 30 is when I got married. After going out with many, many, many girls. Maybe over 100. So I know the feeling. There were times I didn't want to date for months. I was so aggravated from the whole process. But you have to go through, you have to just stick with it. And the theme of Purim is one of the greatest themes to have as a chizuk in terms of navigating the path of Shidduchim. Again, we all go through times that we believe we're all on our own. Sometimes there are moments of great success and everything is going just perfect and we're ignorant that Hashem, we forget about Hashem. You know how it goes. We forget when things are great. You know the story, one of my Rebbes, Rav Shalom Arush, tells a fantastic story about a guy who was a total chiloni. Listen to this. He didn't believe in anything, right? Nothing. But he was hot in real estate in Israel. And everything he was buying in real estate was doubling and tripling in value. So his executive assistant says, you know what? Let's go to this new building. It's in Tel Aviv. It's called the Israeli building. It's a tower. It's right on the ocean. It's like the trophy building. So they go up there and they're buying the whole floor. They'll buy the whole floor. He's about to put the deposit down when, listen to this, when his executive assistant says, I just got an email, boss. We're not going to waste our time buying real estate in Israel. The return is only 20%, which is unbelievable. Let's go to Romania, where they're going to give permits for casinos. We can make 100% on our money. No, thank you. So he listens to him. He was so arrogant, he didn't even bother to go to Romania to check what he bought. He ended up buying literally dirt. He got faked out. He put all his money into Romania, and now he went from a real estate tycoon to a guy that is in massive debt. And guess what happens in Israel when you have debt? Guess who comes knocking? The IRS version of Israel. Mas Achnasa. Dude, you owe us a lot of money. And we want that money now. You know, they'll shake you down in Israel, but good, you're going to jail. So he's hit with a massive bill, and he has no choice. He has to go into the black market to get a loan to pay off the Mas Achnasa, the tax authorities. Guess where the shark's office is? The Israeli building. And it's like, 70 floors, this building. This guy's located on his 66th floor. He goes up there, he signs off on notes for like a couple of $100,000, $250,000 shekels, and he walks out and he's thinking, this is the building that destroyed me. I should have, invested in here. He says, while I'm here, let me go upstairs to the roof and take the view in, looking over Tel Aviv coastline. So he goes up there, and it's gorgeous. Now it's time to go back, and he grabs the handle, locked. Now what does he do? He opens his cell phone, battery died. He says, I'm going to die here. He screams, right? No one's listening because down below, 70 floors, who's going to hear him? He doesn't know what to do. So what's he got on him? All the shekel notes. So he drops a 20 shekel note, and it goes down, 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 down. Someone just picks it up. An hour goes by, it's getting close to sunset. He drops now a 100 shekel note. It goes down, down, down to the floor. Someone comes by, picks it up. He says, forget it. He throws the whole thing down. It rains money. And nobody even looks up. Everyone just grabs the money and leaves. Now it's dark. And he's like, he doesn't know, he's beside himself. He sits down on the floor, on the roof, and he says, for the first time in my life, I'm going to say Shema Yisrael. He had not said it once in his life, but he knew about it. He says, Shema Yisrael, Hashem, I'm in trouble. I'm going to die here. And suddenly, he sees a bag of gravel. You know how sometimes the GCs, the contractors, leave stuff. And he goes over to the bag, the little pebbles. He starts to throw them down, but they could hurt from 70 floors up. And he pings a couple of people, and he said, there's a Mishugah on the 70th floor. And suddenly the Mishtara comes, the police come, they run up there, they get ready to arrest him. He tells them the story. He tells them, I was here, I can take you to the office, I took a loan, I was here, I'll show you. They went down, they were able to verify the story. He's let go. And that starts his path back to tshuva. And he ends up in Shalom Arush's yeshiva, Chut Shel Chesed, I believe, which is in Yerushalayim. And he tells him, please get up and tell us, what did you learn from your life? Listen to what he says, because this is the same theme here. He says, when it was raining money, I didn't look up. Only when my problems came in my life did I look up. And that's a big message, the message of Purim that we're trying to tell us here. That we shouldn't forget the good times, they're miracles camouflaged, just like Chas v'Shalom, the bad times are also camouflaged. Hashem has got his hands in everything. And so we have to remember that very carefully. The Megillah Esther teaches us that even in the darkness of exile, we must never fear. We should always remember that Hashem is watching over us and He'll never forget us. Give me a second. Okay. So that's one of the important themes that I wanted to bring out. Okay, so we'll start with a little bit of a joke. First the girls, and then we're going to get the guys. welcome to the husband store. There are 6 floors in this store. A buyer, a woman, can go in and purchase in any floor. She can never go back down. Either she buys on that floor, or she keeps going up and buys for the next floor. The only thing she could do is when she buys, she could just exit and leaves the building. A woman walks in to the husband's store, and she's greeted with a sign. Here we sell men who have good jobs. She says, oh, that's cool. I wonder what they sell on the second floor. So she goes up to the second floor, where there's an electronic sign that says, here we offer men that have good jobs and love children. It's getting better. But you know how the Yetzer Hara, he pokes you? So you want to know, like, what are they selling on the third floor? So she goes up to the third floor where there's a sign that says, here we have men who have good jobs, love kids, and are good looking. Now, you think you get it all, right? But you know, you're curious. What does the next floor have to sell? So she goes up to the 4th floor where there's a sign that says, here we sell men who have good jobs, love children, are good looking, and help with the housework.
That's it, look out.
Right? Looking great. But she's curious. What does the 5th floor have to offer? So she goes up to the 5th floor. And there's a sign that says, here we have offer men that have good jobs, love kids, are good looking, help with the housework, and have the best sense of humor.
Can't get better than that.
Right?
That lady.
It's all. But it keeps just getting better. So she says, let me go to 6. So she goes up to 6, which is greeted with a sign, you know, like the national debt. Welcome, visitor 42 million. There are no men that are sold on this floor. All this comes to prove is that women are impossible to please. Okay, so that's on the girls. Let's talk about the guys. Her nose is too long, her lips are too wide. I couldn't possibly take that girl for a bride. She jabbers out questions, she laughs too loud. She's not that smart and only blends in with the crowd. What's that you say? I should give her a chance? Okay, if you say so. I won't trust my first glance. Well, what do you know? Am I ever surprised? She has so many pluses that were somehow disguised. Her laugh sounds so charming, her questions so dear, her brightness was hidden, her modesty so sincere. I was so arrogant with all my endless demands. Now I'm humbled to see the work of Hashem's hands. I'll always be grateful for such a wonderful wife whose menschlichkeit has enriched the days of my life. Now I'm a new dad and I have to disclose my precious baby has a gorgeous long nose. And we have to be careful. What's the message behind this? The message is that we can't get so sidetracked with looks and looks and looks that we don't look and probe to see what the person has in their depth. That's the most important thing. You know, there's a writer, you may have heard of him, John Gray. He wrote the famous book about love, Men Are From the Moon and Women Are From Venus. He was a therapist to the stars in Hollywood. Where's that water you said? The mine. The mine. Yeah, perfect. Thanks. Thanks. He says, he was a therapist to the stars, and he could never understand, women would come in to talk to him, that their husbands, women that were gorgeous, you know, models, stars, TV stars, movie stars, and all with the same complaint. My husband is not, or my partner is not physically attracted to me. What's going on? And he's like, what? How could it be that women were so beautiful that the men were not attracted to them? He says, I thought about it. This is a goy now, not a Jew, a goy. And he says, I came to the conclusion, both were culpable, both were responsible. Both never ever got to know each other. Both went in it simply for the looks. So a star, male star is married to a female starlet, and they thought they would live happily ever after. Listen to the conclusion that he came up with. When chemistry of the body is not connected with chemistry of the soul, there's absolutely no expectation that they will ever last. This is right out of the Torah, right? Look for a woman and a man of depth, character, and I'll prove it to you. There's a dating mentor out there called Gila Mandelson. Gila was not frum. She was a person who went on a birthright trip. Someone took her, when they got to Yerushalayim, to her first time she ever attended a wedding that was frum. And she saw a mechitza, she saw, people acting modestly, and it was shocking to her. She was there in her jeans. she decided to discover her Jewish heritage. She enrolled in a place called Neve Yerushalayim, became frum, started dating a frum guy who was like her, Baal Tshuva. And right before getting engaged, the guy that she was dating, her fiancé-to-be, said, we're almost there, but there's one thing I need to do. I need to take you to my Rabbi so that he can meet you and give haskama and tell me that you're the one for me. Fine. So it's off to the central headquarters of Eshet Torah, which is right by the Kotel HaMaravi, and it's none other than the great Reb Noah Weinberg waiting to see her. So they walk in, he says hello to his Talmud, he greets her, how are you, what's your name, Gila, what do you do? I'm studying psychology at UCLA, no, it's going well. Anyway, she says in her diary, he was asking me basic questions and I was answering them, when suddenly he hits her with an interesting question. Rabbi Weinberg looks at her and he says, hey Gila, can you tell me, what's your definition of love? What's love to you? You want to hear her answer? So she answers him, Rabbi, love is the feeling you have when you feel like you have that feeling. She knew she blew it. She didn't know where to hide. She was so embarrassed. She says, I can't believe it. I'm about to get engaged. I can't even define what love is, which is ridiculous. Because if I don't know what love is, how do I know I'm even getting to it? I have to figure out what love is. And how can I tell the rabbi that love is a feeling? Because feelings come and feelings go. I can feel like, oh, I like red wine today and tomorrow I want white. What's the difference? And if you base love on just physical attraction and feeling, you don't know. The guy could be an abuser. She could be someone who's commandeering that tries to control you, or someone who's immature and a lousy baby. You don't know. So it can't be a love based on a feeling. So she did her homework. She said, I decided that by doing research and really thoroughly addressing this issue, love is more. Love is about values. Love is about morally unshakable. Integrity, honesty, kindness, compassion, chesed. That's love. So she says, let me tell you how I would define love based on how the Rosh Yeshiva defined it for me that day. Listen carefully. Gila, he tells her, love is the attachment that comes between a man and a woman when each of them are impressed by the other person's goodness. Goodness. Because you see goodness in the man, you see goodness in the woman, in the way they behave, in the way they talk, in the derech eretz. She does chesed, he learns, he helps others, he gives tzedakah, he goes to shul every day. You understand? The attachment that comes from appreciating the other person's goodness, that love lasts. That love can have a dip and still make it back up. That's the kind of love we're looking for. A love that's strong. I'll give you an example. A couple in Romania, about 120 years ago, maybe a little, but just about 100 years ago, decided that they were going now to move to the Golden Medina. Everyone was coming to America. They needed a better life. They had just gotten married. They had their wedding presents. They compiled them, took them all, and they said that the boat's leaving from England. So they traveled from Romania to England, and they're waiting for the boat. Amongst the other people, the port was crammed and crowded. And they're waiting, and suddenly, Shmuel is his name, and Fegi is her name. Shmuel hears Yiddish, someone screaming in Yiddish, trying to talk in Yiddish. He says, Fegi, 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 where's the Yiddish coming from? So they walked, and they saw young boys, about 16 years old, fighting with a customs officer, trying to get on the boat. And he asked them in Yiddish, what's going on? What's happening? He tells him, my uncle passed away. I was living by my uncle in London. I have nowhere to go. I got a ticket to go to America. I need to get on this boat, otherwise I'm going to be living on the street. So Shmuel takes up the case for him and starts telling the officer, let him on, what's the problem? No, this passport is now valid and I won't allow him on the boat. And now, an argument ensues and they blow the horn once. And Fegi's going to Shmuel, we got to get on the boat. Our entire life is on that boat. Blow the horn twice. Shmuel, what do you mean? She starts to cry. Shmuel, Fegi, we have a Jew here that's suffering. We can't just leave him and desert him. We'll figure it out. If we miss the boat, there's other boats. It's okay. And now the third horn blows, and now the boat's going out to sea, and she's like saying, there goes our entire life. Whatever we own is on the bottom of that boat. He says, no problem. We're going to take the little boy back to London, to the consulate. We're going to fix his passport. We'll catch another ship. And the next day, the world found out that the Titanic sunk. Here's a guy of midos, a guy of values. A guy who cared about another Jew. It saved their life. They would catch another boat, make it to Canada, have 5 children, almost 30 grandchildren, and build a whole life for themselves. Now imagine if they didn't care about him and got on that boat. They'd be history today. That's what we're looking for. Values, character. That's the most important thing. Recently, there was a 60th anniversary party for a guy who writes for Aish Torah called Benjamin Bleich. He is a great writer. He's on Aish.com. He is a professor of Jewish history at Yeshiva University. And the party was in Hollywood. And many of the people invited were producers, writers. One guy walked up to him, Rabbi, it's totally amazing how you were able to be married to the same person for 60 years. It's not a problem doing it here in Hollywood. It's just that we need 5 partners to pull it off. How'd you do it with one? How'd you do it with one? Right? So he tells them something fascinating. He says, when you go to yeshiva, the first Mishnah that you learn is Elu Metzias. When you're in 3rd grade, 4th grade, that Mishnah talks about a garment that's on the floor. 2 people see the garment at the exact same time. Yesh beged baritzpa, right? Both of them jump on the garment at the same exact time. Both say it's my garment. What do you do now? Anybody remember? You go to Beis Din. Each one has to take a shivua, an oath. Each one says, I got it first. What do? The Dayan says, give me a scissor. And he cut the thing down in half, he give each one a piece. He says, that's my recipe for 60 years of a successful marriage. Share the garment. Share everything you have. Why was it necessary that Chazal decided that it should be the first Mishnah that a kid should learn? To teach a boy at that tender age a very important principle in life. If you want to make it in life, if you want to make it as a husband, share the garment. Split it right down the middle. That's what's key. And don't think that it always has to happen, that we have to get married 21, 22. It's all when Hashem wants it. It was the beginning of the 11th year for hundreds of students in England. As they settled into their seats, there was a hush in the room. And now the principal came in for orientation. And he tells them, today's assembly is about the start of your journey in life. The start of the rest of your lives. In 2 years, all of you will be graduating. In 3 years, you'll be studying across the world at the university of your choice. This was a top high school, a private school in England. In 5 years, you will have started your careers. Many of you in this room will be working for the best companies in the world. You'll then get married, after which you'll buy a house. In 10 years, your path, your life will be set. Within moments after the principal finished his final sentence, a student in the back raised his hand. The student walked to the front, said, Mr. Principal, can I have the mic? I'm sorry, Mr. Principal, but let me tell you why your approach will fail many people. I know people who graduated at 21 and didn't get a job until they were 27. I know people who graduated at 25 and found work right away. I know people who never went to college but found what they love at 18. I know people who found a job right out of college making good money but hate their job. I know people who took many years off to go to Israel or places like that and find their purpose in life. I know people who were sure about what they were going to do at 16 but changed their minds at 26. I know people who had children that are divorced. And I know people who are married and had to wait 10 years to have children. 3 weeks ago, I participated with 700 other people in one grand convention center. We learned the whole Shas in one day. Each of us had to finish 10 daf, which is 20 amudim. Why? We were raising close to $15 million for hundreds of couples, Jewish couples that can't have babies, for an organization called A Time. There's no guarantee. Hashem decides when you're going to have kids, right? So again, I know people who are in relationships who love someone else. And I know people who love each other but are not happy. My point, the student tells the principal, is that everything in life happens according to a time and a clock. And as Jews we would say, Hashem has a schedule. Yesh tochnit lekolanu. Everyone has a specific schedule in their life. And the point that I'm trying to tell you here is, don't look and say, when I was in, the guys that I went to high school with, or the girls I went to, they're married, they're this and that. Everyone has their time. You may look at some of your friends and think they're ahead of you, and maybe some of them are behind you, but everything happens at a specific time designated by Hashem. We each have our own time and our own clock. Many people achieve their goals at a later stage in life. Richard Branson founded Virgin Airlines at 34. Amancio Ortega launched the great chain of Zara clothing at 40. Getting your degree after 25 is still okay. Not being married at 35, but being happy is beautiful. Starting a family at 40 is still possible. And buying a house after 40 is still great. Don't let anyone rush you with their timelines. Oh, Nebuch, he's still single? That's not their problem. Right? Don't let anyone rush you. Because as Einstein said, not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that's counted really counts. And this is the most important thing. We want to be able to create meaningful, good lives for ourselves and learn how to use that to make an impact and difference in the lives of others. That's true success. And that's one of the main themes that I want to share with you tonight. Every one of us has our own tochnit, our own timeline. And when it'll happen, it'll happen. You just have to be, open-minded to receiving that when it happens. Okay. Now, give me a second. What are some of the mistakes people are making that's resulting in a high divorce rate today? We have a 60% divorce rate. What's creating it? What's causing it?
Social media.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Big problem. Number one, these are some of the 10 most important reasons. You pick the wrong person because you expect the guy or the girl to change after you're married. Big mistake. You both have to be somewhere in similar hashkafa when you're dating. You can't have a wide gap or it's not going to work. The classic mistake, you don't marry someone's potential. The golden rule is if you can't be happy with the way they are now, don't marry that person. Number two, you pick the wrong person because, as we said, you focus more on physical attraction than on character. Instead, look at 4 qualities. Humility. Does the person have anava? Are they humble? 2, kindness. Do they give tzedakah? Are they kind to people they don't have to be? How does that person talk to the janitor in their building? Responsibility. Can I depend on that person to come through and do what they say they're going to do? Happiness. Very important. Does the person have simchas achayim? That's such an incredibly important ingredient for life. You don't want to marry someone who sees the world as a glass half empty. Someone has an optimistic perspective to life. You're going to be with them many years, Be'ezat Hashem. You want someone who has an optimistic, positive attitude. Next, you choose the wrong person because you don't share common life goals. And this is very important. Make sure when you're single, you figure out what your beliefs are. What do you believe in? What would you live for? What would you die for? What's important to you? And then when you date, look for someone who's going in the same direction. I like to say something very nice. Love is not 2 people looking at each other. Love is 2 people looking in the same direction. Is she looking in the same direction as I'm looking? Is he looking in the same direction as the girl is looking? Do you want the same things from life that I want? Children, a good home, a good community, good jobs, chesed. These are the things that we're interested in. Do we share common values? After all, that's the definition of a soulmate. A soulmate is a goalmate. Next, I'm going to just go quickly on this one. You choose the wrong person because you get physical too quickly, and that's not a good idea because it clouds the mind, and a clouded mind makes terrible decisions. Of all the studies done on divorce, problems in the physical area is never cited as a reason why people divorce. Next, you pick the wrong person because you don't feel emotionally safe. Be careful of a controlling behavior. They try to tell you what to do. They rule your life. That's a problem. There's a difference between controlling behavior and making suggestions. A suggestion is made by someone for your benefit. A controlling statement is made by them because they want it for their benefit. Number 8, you pick the wrong person because you don't put everything on the table while you're dating that person. Whatever bothers you about the relationship should be discussed. I deal with a lot of divorced people coming to me to get married again, to get set up, and I always ask them, if you know about the problem, why don't you say something when you were dating her or dating him? No, I figured it wasn't a big deal. It is a big deal. Whatever's going on that annoys you, discuss it. Or bring in a third party, like myself, or someone who should be, let me stress, when you go to someone for shidduch advice, make sure they have experience in this field. Everyone thinks that they're involved, read a shidduch, that they're experts. No, there's a science to this. There's a chachma to this. They should have das Torah. It's important. Anything that bothers you in the dating relationship should be discussed. Bringing it up now is the only way to determine, can you guys navigate life later? Can you compromise later? I love it when there's a problem in the shidduch. I want to see how they work it out. And if they work it out now, that's a guarantee, that's a sure thing, that they'll be able to deal with life later. If it's too chalak all the way, if it's too smooth, watch out. I know of a dear friend who he's married off many kids, but one kid, I went to the chasana in Lakewood, Ben Torah, learning in BMG, divorced 9 months. He goes, I should have known. It went too smooth, the father tells me. There was never a hiccup at all from beginning to end. Next, you pick the wrong person because you decide to get married to escape your personal problems. Huge mistake. Marriage will not fix your problems, ladies and gentlemen. It'll make them worse. So be careful. If you're not happy or there's something going on in your life, correct it now before you start a new life, married. And lastly, you pick the wrong person because that person is involved in a triangle. What is a triangle? A triangle we know is 3 dots. 1, 2, 3. A straight line is 2 dots. So it should be, a good relationship is 2 dots making a straight line. When you have a third dot, that means that you're not the most important person in their life. The classic example of a triangulated person is someone who's extremely connected to their parents. Calling them every day, every moment, every decision has to be made by them. I had a Beis Yaakov girl come to me 2 summers ago who was married 3 weeks. So what happened? She says, after the chasana, we went to the hotel, he's on the phone with his mother for 4 hours. We knew there was a problem. She obviously didn't look into it, divorced, and they just exchanged their gifts and bye-bye. You could also be triangulated with work addiction, gambling addiction, sports addiction, stuff like that, something like that. Okay, so let's talk about attitudinal things. Okay, so, give me a second. Focusing on what's wrong and what's missing. Some just key concepts and I'll wrap it up. People who excel at looking at the negative in their life make their lives totally miserable. But it's a big mistake to find problems instead of looking for solutions. So your attitudes is critical. And one of the things we want to work on is to continuously improve the way we look at life. And we can't get beaten up by the Yetzer Hara. That's very, very important. Oh, so at this point, I just want to share one thing, and that's like this. In my hand is a PDF called Dr. Jack Dating PDF of questions you can ask on dating. I created this for David Lichtenstein when I was interviewed by Headlines on his podcast. He asked me a question. The title of that night is, why are we seeing so many broken engagements and quick divorces? And I said, the answer to me is because the communication that's taking place is very poor. People are not digging deep enough when they date. So I decided to do something about it. I created a PDF of 100 most important questions you should ask on dating. You decide when you want to ask them, but I'll tell you one thing. The better the line of questioning on the dating, the deeper you go. And the deeper you go, the more successful you connect, and the greater is the kesher between the man and the woman. If you need this, feel free to WhatsApp me. I have my business cards over here. Actually, let's give them out to people. If any questions, here, give these out to the guys. And if you need the PDF, just here you go. Just give it out to the girls. You just reach out to me if you have any questions anyway. But I think it's important, and I'm going to go through some of them. Some of the questions that, just to take a brief sampling of questions. What are you proud of?
It's also prophesied that in the end of days, it's going to be a lot of divorces. I heard that. We're in the end, basically, and it says that it's going to be a lot of...
I've never heard that. It sounds good, but if you want to get me a mikor, I want to see it. What's the source for that? Is that a midrash?
I don't know. I heard it from a class, that's what I'm saying.
I want to see it. I never heard it. Yeah. I will tell you one thing, that I had this conversation today with a fellow. He told me it was eye-opening. One of my friends this past weekend had a event in Miami. 1,200 people came, Steve Eisenberg. He's been advertising it for 6 months. He's a dear friend of mine. You may have heard in Bell Harbor, he had a big event in the Shul of Bell Harbor by Rabbi Shalom Lipsker. Anyway, so he's telling me about all the interesting things that happened over the weekend, how people, 42-year-old girl from LA meets a 40-year-old guy. It's a dream come true, right? Which 40-year-old guy would take a 42-year-old girl? It's not common. Anyway, and a good-looking guy, he tells me, got a decent job, and they met at his event last year, and she drops him because she wasn't happy with his bank account, which is ridiculous. So I said to him something that I heard in B'Shem Eli Mansour, he was a dear friend of mine. Anyway, so he said, because you reminded me, the greatest challenge we have today in pre-Mashiach days is Shidduchim. Why? Because every new Shidduch builds every new Jewish home is another nail in the coffin of the Yetzer Hara, the Malach HaMavis. We're going to get rid of him. And that's why this is the biggest challenge. I have been Zoiche. I have been involved in every aspect of Klal Yisrael. In teaching, I've started a kollel with my friends. I've been involved in, Bikur Cholim. I've been involved in opening a kollel in Israel. But this work now that I'm involved in, which is Shidduchim, if that work, all that other work was Kodesh, this is Kodesh Kodashim. I realize that this is the apex of Klal Yisrael right now. The highest level is being involved in Shidduchim, and obviously the most challenging or frustrating as I try to nail some of these things down. And, it's a challenge. But so again, some of the questions you might want to ask is, what are you proud of as an accomplishment? I want to hear what are you proud of? Is it a spiritual accomplishment? Is it a physical accomplishment? What does it mean for you to be Jewish? In 2025, when we have so much anti-Semitism, what are your goals for the future? I want to hear. I want to build a Jewish home. I want to have kids. What does it take to make you happy in life? Is it Gucci or is it health? Right? How have you grown in the past 5 years? Look at these questions. They're great. What are you doing now to maintain your Yiddishkeit? Who are your closest friends and what do you look for in a friend? Is it integrity? Is it dependability? Is it honesty? Do you enjoy your work? What neighborhood are you living in? And are you open-minded to moving? That's very important. How do you describe your personality? Do you get angry often? That's important because Kaas is a huge red flag. If you're going through a difficult situation, who do you go to for advice? If they tell me they have a Rav or a Rebbitzin, big check. That means they have a mentor in life. Ravik de Miller, who taught me a lot, used to tell us all the time, a couple that's dating should have a mentor and should have a Rav for their Shalom Bayis for the first 36 months of their life. Because questions arise. Problems come up. Even, I was no expert, I was already quibbling with my wife in the first week. It happens. You're not used to living together with someone. So that's important to have someone in the middle. Are you involved in chesed? Big one. Especially the guys asking the girls. Because what's the first shidduch of the world? Eliezer, Eved Avraham. What was he searching for? A PhD? What was he looking for? Someone to give him water and to give his camels water. Chesed. That's key. Do you enjoy kiruv? How do you spend your Shabbos? Now, what's going on here? And I can go on. You're doing an x-ray. You're getting an idea of what's in the kishkes of that person. What makes them tick? Where's their passion? Look for that potential that they want to take it to a higher level. I'll close with a great story that I like to share. About 40 years ago, it was the beginning of the Baal Tshuva movement. And in Paris, there was a young woman by the name of Sarah Cohen, maybe they need to change the name, who told her father that she wanted to get married now and become a CPA. She was going to go to university in Paris. And she wanted a husband who was going to be in learning. And she would support. Her sister had done the same thing. Everyone around them was traditional, not Shomer Shabbat. But these two girls were like pioneers. The first sister had married a Ben Torah, and she wanted the same thing. She wanted to copy her sister. Her father, he's not too swift on what she meant by a guy in learning. He tells his brother Moisi in shul on Shabbat, he says, Sarah wants to go out with a guy who's in learning. Okay, I got the great guy for her. His name is Yosef Levy. And we're going to set it up. They'll meet blind date in the lobby of a 5-star hotel in Paris. So it is. She's waiting. She's all dressed up, put together. When suddenly a guy approaches her with a Grateful Dead t-shirt and cut up jeans. Are you Sarah? She says to her, yeah, who are you? Were you sent to send me a message or something? He says, no, I'm Yosef. She said, what? What's my uncle thinking? I'm going to be a CPA. I want to marry someone who's going to learn in Kola. You're the farthest thing from it. You don't even have a kippah on. Oh, I'm so sorry. He's folding kippahs from the funeral parlor. Anyway, he puts it on. They start talking. He says, what are you looking for? He says, I want a husband who's going to be learning Torah, and I'm delighted to support him. And he looks at her very innocently, and he says, why would you want that? I'm going to be an architect. And in 6 months, I'm graduating with a master's in architecture. And now the fight goes on for an hour about life. After the hour, she gets up frustrated. She says, can I go now? What a waste of my time. This is ridiculous. I'm going to let my father and my uncle have it when I get home. All right. As they're getting ready to depart, he looks at her. He says, what if I became that guy? She looks at him and she says, not in a million years. No way. Right? Okay, they depart. 2 weeks later, the uncle calls his brother up. What did she do to him? What did she do to him? Do you know he left his architectural program 6 months left to graduation, and he just enrolled in yeshiva in Strasbourg? And he wants another date with her in 2 weeks when he has Shabbos off. So 2 weeks later, it's a month since the first date, in comes Yosef. White shirt, blue pants, black velvet kippah. And he tells her, I'm so grateful to you. You opened up a world to me that is the most beautiful world of Torah, of fulfillment. My neshama is alive. And now it's a whole different discussion. And they're schmoozing away. And then a couple of hours go by, like 5 minutes, and again when you get up, he's assuming he's got that third date locked in. And he looks at her and he goes, I'll see you next week? No. What do you mean no? I just can't do it. Not for me. She goes home, she's thinking, did I do right, did I not do right? Anyway, our friend Yosef leaves Paris after being in yeshiva for about a year, trucks over to Monsey, New York, and enrolls in Or Sameach for 2 years. And now the years are flying by. And our maiden, she's no longer 21, she's 28, she's 30, she's 32, 34, 35. And the word comes back from Paris that Yosef with the Grateful Dead t-shirt is now Rosh Kollel to 50 boys. Rosh Kollel. She says, I blew it. Another year goes by. She's almost 38 years old now. And the news comes in, there was a terrorist attack. He had 5 children, 3 were murdered with his wife. And after he sat Shiva, and a few months later, he was going to come back to visit the family in Paris. And everyone's talking. Rabbi Levy's coming into town. And they're looking, nudging her. Maybe you want to go out with him. Don't blow it this time. And guess what? Date in the same hotel. In the lobby, and she's waiting for him. And in comes a Rosh Yeshiva with a bekasha and a Hamburg. Whoa! And she sits down and they're looking at each other. It's been 17 years. And she starts to cry. And he looks at her and he says, my wife used to go to the Koisel every day to daven for you. My wife used to say to me, if not for you, I would never would have become who I became. I would never have married her. I would never would have qualified for her. She used to go every day to daven for you, you should get married. And she starts to cry and she says, you had Rahmanas on me, I didn't have Rahmanas on you. I didn't see the beauty in you. I didn't see the potential that was involved. 3 dates later, they get engaged. They get married a month later. On the day of their wedding, he says, I have a souvenir, a gift to give you. He pulls out the first kippah that he ever wore. And he says, put this in our photo album. Thank you. Have a great night. Okay, so I'll open up the floor to Q&A. Any question you have on dating, feel free to ask me. If you're too private, then you'll have to just WhatsApp it to me. Thank you for coming, by the way. And thank you again, Rabbi Shmueli. Where are you? Shekolach. Thank you so much. You went, Israel, you went above and beyond. Above and beyond. Okay, go.
You're a dating coach, right?
Yeah.
Charge for your time. Do you
Yes.
have a rate at which you charge?
Yeah, it's $250 initial consultation and $200 follow-up. Keep in mind, almost 80% of the work goes into all the people that I hire to do videos. I travel. Almost all my lectures, I don't get paid. This is all free. When I went to LA, free. It pays. I am a dating educator. I travel, teaching. So whatever I make in terms of the consultations just covers the expenses because I'm a non-profit. It's all at
That
tzedakah.
makes sense.
It's all at tzedakah. Yes. Any other questions? Again, if you want to reach out to me, my number is 305-206-1916 for anything. Dating help or coaching or matchmaking, whatever it is. Thank you for coming.
Rabbi.
Yeah. Please. Go.
Number one, you're a great speaker.
Thank you.
You mentioned previously that you dated over 100 girls until you met your wife.
Yes.
So explain to me what happened, 100 girls and then all of a sudden you meet your wife? What changed at the 101 that you decided to...
Excellent question. I'll tell you what happened. That summer, I grew up in the Syrian community. Every summer, we went to Bradley Beach or Deal, New Jersey. And the minhag was, everyone went to the beach. And every summer, year in and year out, I'd go home after the summer, nothing doing. And I said to myself, this preacher's there. I really don't belong here. So that summer, I decided that on Sundays, I'm just not going, but it was hard because they're long days. We'd learn a little extra. We would go play basketball, my friend and I. Listen to this. We would go play basketball, maybe catch a swim in someone's private pool, but it was hard because you knew everyone else was over there. I was moist nefesh. 2 weeks later, after the summer, I was introduced to my wife. And my friend would go on to build the biggest yeshiva system in the Sephardic community. He's Meir Yedid. He's massive today. The guy has like 7,000 kids. Because he did the same thing with me. Yeah, so what the difference was, I left that lane and I shifted to another lane. I was moist nefesh. I said, I don't belong there. There's no way I'm going to find my wife in a beach club. Because how do you say wedding in Hebrew? Kiddushin. It's not kadosh. So I made a shift from that world of vanity to world of character and midos. That's the reason.
Great response. How do you translate that into a regular guy? That's not what that is.
And what's the question?
You have to go in a mysterious nefesh way to find your wife?
Not necessarily. No. Let's just have a top 10. Are you getting dates? I mean, you're in contact with Shadchanim?
Has that answered the question?
No, because I want to know if you're getting dates and you're just dismissing one girl after the next, or you're not getting opportunities bichlal. Something maybe you want to talk to me privately so I can determine it. Just, I guess, Torah, Tefillah, Tzedakah. Yeah, go ahead.
Financial status of someone that's single to become married. Like at what point, what's the threshold that someone should have for himself? Like what's responsible versus trying to like have all your ducks that are not needed in a row?
Just a good job. You don't have to have every dollar in the bank that you need. A good job, a steady job, and that's fine. Or you're on the way to getting a job. You're in graduate school, you're in medical school, you're in law school, and you're on the way. But you're not a bum. You're not sitting at home till 2 o'clock in the afternoon and getting up to daven shachris at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Yes, of course. I'll send it to you and you'll send it out. It's on YouTube.
It's a strong speech, Chazak.
My pleasure. My pleasure. You enjoyed it?
Yeah, thank you so
Okay,
much.
my pleasure.
It's, you take calls, right?
Yes. Yeah, call me.
Rabbi, Dr. Jack, I almost want to say Rabbi Jack. You know why? Because you just spoke to Aishlit, and before I came to Yeshiva to be here at Adar Torah, I was very involved in the Pico community, including in Aishlit. That was the one organization I was most involved in. So imagine my reaction when I go on COL Live, now that I'm in Yeshiva over here at Adar Torah. You were close with Hecht, so you know what Adar Torah is, right?
Yeah.
Of course. So imagine when I go on COL Live and I see Dr. Jack Cohen. I'm like, didn't this guy just speak to Aishlit? Didn't I see that on WhatsApp?